Welcome to the Heroes of the Heart podcast. I'm so delighted to have you join us. Today, our hero of the heart is Cheryl Stelte, who is a spiritual entrepreneur and has been for over 2 decades. She is the best-selling author of 2 books, the latest being Client Magnet, which I think we can see right behind you if you're watching on YouTube. It's a coach's guide to attract ideal clients through spiritual awareness. Cheryl is a founder and CEO of Star of Divine Light Institute and Isaria's online energy healing. In addition to her psychic abilities, Cheryl holds diplomas and certifications in multiple energy healing modalities, spiritual leadership, coaching, mentoring, retreat guiding, shamanism, acupressure, meditation, and instinctive feng shui. Cheryl is sought after for her ability to help others break through barriers where nothing else has worked. Welcome to Heroes of the Heart, Cheryl.
And thank you, Steve. I am thrilled to be here with you.
It is such a delight. That was quite a list of credentials that I just ran through. Sounds like you have been on quite the journey. Can you share a little bit about what that journey has been like?
Yes, it's been a number of years, 27, almost 28 years ago. I started meditating, and it was actually to heal my own severe depression. And I had a very profound experience on the beach. One day, my deceased brother came and spoke to me through the friend of mine who had never channeled anybody before. So it was a very wild experience. I'd never experienced anything like it, never even thought of meditating before that. And within just a few months, I was able to get off my antidepressants and never had to go back on. And that's what going on my spiritual journey, which initially was all about healing. And as I healed myself, I did a lot of different trainings, which I benefited from, and later discovered I was meant to share all of this with others.
That is one that resonates so much with me, in that, you know, we've talked in the past about my own journey from depression to delight, you know, and one of the things that I find interesting about what you just shared is just kind of, there were things that happened that were unexpected, that, you know, it wasn't planned. You didn't, you know, have a 12-step plan that you were working through in order to go from depression to a better place. It was just kind of what showed up and taking advantage of those opportunities when they showed up. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. It was really one thing led to another, led to another, led to another, and many modalities. And yet at the same time, it was like I had a need and the universe gave me something to fulfill it. It was, I feel like everything, I just received so many gifts in this way. And sure, I spent a lot of money and a lot of time investing in myself. Absolutely. And I kept going because it just, everything I did helped each layer, you know, on and on. And I had a friend, one of my best friends, who many times years ago would say, "You're a spiritual healer, you're a healer, you're a spiritual teacher. You need to teach what you do to others." And I always thought, no way. It's enough to work on myself. I could never help others. And now it's the most fulfilling thing. It's the best part of my entire life. You know, it's the love of the clients, helping them have the breakthroughs that I've been able to have, and bring more love and light into the world.
Yeah. It reminds me of back when I was in corporate and was honestly on the verge of escaping that that place, that I did this exercise where I put my roles on the spiral, and I put things like, you know, husband and father and son and accountant, and at the very end, and as they went around the spiral, they kept getting bigger and more significant. And the last thing that was on that spiral was healer. And I'm like, where the freak did that come from? and how does that even fit with who I am? Because that was not my understanding or appreciation of who I am. And it sounds like there's a little bit of that for you as well. When people are saying, you know, you're a healer, use that healing ability to make a difference in the world. And there is that resistance, kind of the refusal of the call and the hero's journey of, you know, that's not me, I can't do that, right? So what was that process of stepping into that possibility like?
Thank you for asking that question. Well, I dabbled in it, didn't charge at first. So I did a fair bit of healing through shamanic practices, and I brought a lot of my spirituality into my spiritual interior design business. And
Mm,
so I did readings for my clients. I would, walk through the house and try and pick up on, what was out of place within them that was reflected in the environment. Um, and even through shamanic journeying and soul retrieval, all that sort of thing. And I taught meditation, and it started, I just asked a group of friends if they wanted to meditate with me, and we would meditate on Monday evenings. I think it was every second Monday, and I would lead these meditations, and they loved it and I loved it, and it was so much fun. And then I started having people ask me to teach them,
mm,
and more people started approaching me until I really I did a 1 week meditation retreat for myself, where I just meditated for a week. And at the end of that retreat, I was told I was a spiritual teacher. And I couldn't deal with it. The resistance, like you're talking about, you discover you're a healer. And I just was like, no, this can't be possible. I don't have the skills. Where do you get the training? All that
mm,
stuff. And so that was the next layer of my healing, was to work through the fear, the resistance, the it can't be me, who do I think I am, all that sort of thing. And then as I was breaking through that, I had more and more people approaching me.
mm.
And and so it's just been one step after another after another.
That's awesome. I'm wondering, kind of to go back to something you said about the spirituality and the interior design, the thought that came to mind for me was, and in my work, I talk about going from your cozy cottage to your courageous castle, right? And they're in a way the same place. It's just how we relate to them. And thinking about that, what is the environment in which we find ourselves? What is the environment in which that we're creating for ourselves, right? So if you will, how does our environment reflect and guide us into becoming who we are meant to become? Is there a relationship there?
Big one. I agree with you. I agree with you totally. Did you say courageous castle?
Yes.
I love that, because it takes courage. It takes courage to get to the courageous castle. And the environment, God or the universe, is forever speaking to us, is forever communicating, is forever trying to support us and help us complete our soul's purpose every step of the way. And so our environment support us. So if something really bad happens, that we're going, oh no, if we can try and embrace it and look for what is the opportunity in this, everything is an opportunity. And
Mm,
that's, as human beings, it's not always easy to see. As a matter of fact, it can be very difficult. And then to see in our environments how we're being supported, how we're being loved and nurtured and encouraged along the way. And so the environment to me is not just the physical, it is the physical. It's also the spiritual, the cosmos, the whole
mm,
world, and
mm,
humanity. God or the universe speaks through others for us to help us. Everything, if we try and feel into life as truly supporting us, um, the more we can recognize that and embrace the messages that we're receiving and go with it, the better.
mm. You know, I'm reminded of one thing and making me think of another thing. I watched a short little video that was going off of something that C.S. Lewis said forever ago. And he talked about that we go out and we go to make our little cozy cottage, so to speak. And then something happens and it kind of shakes the foundation, and the walls get bent out of shape. And if we can either resist that or follow it along. And as we follow it along, and he's talking about God, being the master architect of our lives, that cottage turns into the castle. And he's actually using different words, but that same idea of really a cottage and really a castle, he called it a palace. That when we let go and we surrender to the universe and allow the universe to take direction of our lives, that some amazing things happen that surpass our understanding. Just like the idea of going from, I'm just trying to help myself heal to I am now helping other people heal. That wasn't something that we sought out to do. It wasn't something that, when we were looking at our course curricula on whatever school we went to, that this is where I want to go. It's just, that's kind of the way that the master architect developed the plans for our lives. And when we surrender to it, the beautiful things can happen.
Absolutely. And I love it that you use the word surrender. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, that's really what it's all about. We are so conditioned to try and make things happen, as opposed to allow things to happen, allow the unfolding. And if I can speak to that a little bit, yes, surrender is a big topic in the work that I do. Most of the people, a lot of the people that come to me are often in the dark night of the soul. They have come through their lives and they've become the expert at something. And then comes the time of unlearning. That's the dark night of the soul. Time to unlearn. We're not equipped for that because it takes the greatest surrender. And I have for years had so many people ask me, how do you surrender? What does it truly mean? And we can't, it's hard to do it with the mind. And I moved from Canada to the US. I married an American and my stuff was still in Canada. And then COVID hit. So my whole immigration process got put on hold, everything. Finally, it's time for me to go and pick up my car. And I didn't think I would have to go into quarantine, but they made me go into quarantine for 2 weeks. So here I am in a hotel room for 2 weeks and I can do my work. All the work I do is online. But what I got was, this was serving me. I surrendered to it. And the guidance I got was, you need to do a retreat for yourself. And so I'm like, okay. So I juggled appointments and stuff. And I changed hotel rooms into something bigger. And anyway, so I took 5 days for myself. And for the first time, I've done a lot of retreats, vision quests, that sort of thing. And here I am, and I couldn't meditate. I'm sitting there and I just wanted to go on my phone. And after over an hour of this, I said to myself, what are you doing? You teach this, you guide people on meditation retreats. What is going on? And I knew it took a deeper surrender from myself. I knew what I was about to experience took the deepest surrender. I needed to surrender in a greater way. And what I ended up doing, I'm sitting on the hotel bed and I propped up pillows behind me. So I was just relaxed and I'm at a 45-degree angle. And I just surrendered to what was happening. And I surrendered to the resistance I was feeling and the fear about the unknown. I didn't know what was going to happen in these next few days. And I knew it was going to be significant. And that was how my surrender practice developed. Because what happens when we meditate and we're sitting up straight in our back, we're nice and straight, and I meditate without any physical support, we still can't 100% relax the body. We still need all those muscles that hold our skeleton in place so that we can remain upright. When we're laying horizontally, we can be totally relaxed, but we don't have the benefit of energy running up and down our spine. So I never consider meditation when we're laying down flat. But when we're at a 45-degree angle, we can relax just as much as when we're laying flat, and we still get energy moving up and down the spine.
Mm,
And I was really onto something in doing that. I had no idea. And I was able to relax 100% and open up totally with my fear, with my resistance to allowing this to happen. And so for that retreat for 5 days, that was how I started my retreat every single day. And then I
mm.
started using that practice with people who I would have on personal retreat and with a lot of my clients. And now I just share that practice freely because it's so far to me, it is the best way to, like you say, surrender, to allow it. And it's surrendering to the not knowing, to the unknown.
Mm, yes. You know, and I find that interesting that one, how much resistance we have to surrendering, that, and I'm speaking from my own experience of what changed for me, what shifted for me when I went from struggling really in incredible ways with depression and just how difficult that was. The turning point for me was really about surrendering and just allowing myself to, instead of criticizing myself and striving to be in a better place, just to surrender and allow myself to be in that depressed state. And to go, one way that it shifted for me was that I went from being the critic of my life to the cheerleader of my life, right? That instead of, dang it, you're depressed again, you know, how bad and whatever, to, okay, you know what, I'm depressed enough, or I'm depressed again. And coming at that from a place of curiosity rather than a place of judgment or criticism or, you know, any other type of energy, and just noticing that I'm depressed and not having that mean anything other than, isn't that interesting that I'm depressed? You know, and from that place, I was able to say, okay, well, that is interesting. And, you know, what are the choices that I can make from this state in order to get to a better state? And since then, I developed a practice where, you know, again, going back to the spiral, you know, we can spiral in a creative way where we continually to grow and develop and expand, or we can spiral in a destructive way where we keep getting worse, you know, where one little thing turns into, you know, like the worst thing in the world. You know, you have a flat tire, and now the flat tire isn't just a flat tire, it's, you know, your marriage is in trouble and your house is going to get repossessed, and, you know, it's like everything in the world is, you know, falling apart just because of one little thing that happened and you spiraled downward. We have a choice in that moment whether we're going to spiral downward or whether we're going to spiral outward and create something that's even better than what we're currently experiencing.
I love your analogy. I love this analogy of the spiral. Um, and you're so bang on in saying we always have a choice. So here I was. I could have been miserable for 2 weeks being in quarantine in a hotel room away from my husband, and all my family lives in Alberta, and I couldn't even see them
Mm,
because I was in quarantine. I could have been feeling sorry for myself, and instead, I just, like you say, I accepted the situation and then embraced it and went, okay, there's something greater here. So then it starts a spiral. But can you, you know, if you want to maybe say, I just see that, oh, then that spiral can stop and we can start to unwind again. We can go backwards and continue to go forward. It's not that we get into the spiral and it's going to stay that way. It's a matter of when we move into the expansion, like you say, I love that. The forward spiral moves into expansion. We can at any point start to turn the other way and vice versa.
absolutely. In fact, just, you know, going off the analogy of the heart, the image that I have, you know, is that the heart naturally is constantly expanding and contracting, right? You know, that it's a natural part of the way that the heart works is that it expands and it contracts, and both of those are vital part of a healthy heart. That if it were to stop in either place, either contracting or expansion, then it would stop to work. And, we know where that goes. So I think it's essential that we get clear on how do we be okay with whatever is showing up. And I love the way that you took this opportunity, this quarantine that, has caused all kinds of headaches for all kinds of people all over the world over the last couple of years, and turned it into this kind of magical experience where it sounds like it was a really ripe opportunity for lots of growth and development to occur.
Yeah, it was, and I'll never forget it. And when you speak about the heart, and it's natural for the heart to expand and contract, expand and contract. It's what we do every second, right? It's what we are actually in the flow of, is expansion and contraction. And remembering that too, the heart is meant to feel. We are meant to feel, and we are meant to feel all of our emotions. And our culture, so many cultures, do not encourage us to feel everything and to flow through our emotions, to just allow them. It's like, no, we only want to feel the happy emotions. We just want to feel, and all those other ones that are really uncomfortable, we want to put them away. And hence we get depressed. And it's a very serious conditioning that happens. And so when we learn to, like you said, to look at the depression with curiosity and to embrace it even, and feel everything, just feel the emotions, they flow through us. That's what I help people with. People have backlogs of suppressed emotions in their subconscious. And it's especially difficult in early childhood when we're not encouraged or supported in feeling our emotions. And I just want to throw a little caveat in there that I see so many young parents today honor their children's emotions. It's the most wonderful thing to witness. But generations ago, for so many people, and part of my generation, it wasn't okay. It certainly wasn't okay all the time. And children have difficulty even in understanding their emotions. So all this gets stuck in the subconscious. And then when we want to move forward, these things are all in there. And that's the work I do, is help people unravel that, to pull it out of the subconscious, all that energy, which then frees them up, and God and the universe can move through them in greater ways.
Absolutely. I remember my youngest child's name is Joy. And when they were younger, there would be moments when they were just really joyous and really free with their emotions. And then, but there were also at the same time, times when they would just be crying and just having a really difficult time. And I found myself saying, I really wish I could stop the crying and those quote unquote negative emotions, and it just always being joy. But what I realized in that reflection was that if I stopped the crying, then I had to also stop the joy. That for joy to experience joy, to be fully expressed, I had to allow them to express all their emotions, not just the ones that I identified as being positive or good.
You're an amazing father.
I am learning. That is my fourth child, so good thing we have opportunities to practice and to grow. And it is still very much a growing practice.
It never ends.
That is for sure. So I'm curious with these emotions getting trapped and the way that keeps us stuck, how does that relate to the client magnetism? How do we attract our clients, and does it have anything to do with the trapped energy, the trapped emotions? Is there a connection there?
It's totally the trapped emotions. It's 100%. Well, there is the, the amygdala, the reptilian brain. Whenever we try and change, we go into fight or flight. No, it's not safe, and that sort of thing. So I think most of us have learned to get beyond that, and we can use mindset. It's very helpful. The other part that does stop us from attracting the clients that really need and want to work with us is our own wounding, our own trapped emotions in there. And to me, the work is endless. It's endless. We get to a certain point, and then to me, it's whenever we take a giant step forward or a big step forward in our work in the world, whatever stopped us from doing that before will come up. We've got to do our own inner work. It keeps going. And then because we are vessels, you are, here we are, heroes of the heart, our being. We really are the soul in the human body, and we are designed as vessels for God or the universe to move through us in our own unique way. The more open we are, the better. And what restricts that opening are these stuck emotions in the subconscious. And I do chakra readings. I do a lot of chakra readings. And I see the stuck emotions in all the chakras in various ways. So I see where the light and love is flowing through people, and that's their power. And it's natural. The universe is made of love and light. So I see that. And then I see dark energy, and that's the stuck emotions. So it's basically, it's helping people release that energy of the stuck emotions as quickly and effectively and as thoroughly as possible, so more love and light can take up that space. And there's a number of things that I do and things that I use, and part of that is meditating every day. And I teach people how to be their own energy worker. I don't do mindfulness meditation. I started with that, but it's not something I've continued with, because I didn't want to just feel peaceful or calm. I wanted healing. And then eventually it moved into empowerment. I was starting to witness my own increased level of confidence, and so it's been like that. So we can all be our own healers. We can all be our own coaches. And yes, we need others. Absolutely. All humans need each other. And so that's basically, in a nutshell, what it is. It's allowing whatever's stuck in there so we can become a clear conduit, allowing God or the universe to move through us in our own unique ways.
I love the idea of, the light and the dark, that the darkness can transcend into the light. I just saw a quote on one of the apps that I have that quoted Madame L'Engle, who said, you can't really appreciate the light without the darkness. And one of the ways that I think about that is you can't see the stars until it's dark outside. And if we want to follow our North Star, there's going to be some darkness that goes along with that. The other thing that I really got from what you just shared was, in dealing with that transition from darkness to light, that isn't just within us, it's within the people that we serve, and when other people see our light, that attracts them. In fact, I'm looking at your cover and I'm wondering, what do you have on the cover? Is that a lighthouse, or is it?
Oh yeah, the client magnet cover. Yes, it is a lighthouse. It is absolutely a lighthouse. I have a really big canvas print here of a lighthouse that reminds me we are all lighthouses. Especially if we're here to help others, it's help them find their way home, that we need to shine our own light. And it's not so much a physical thing, but an energetic thing. And that we clear the blocks and access our own light so it can shine more and more and more. And it's there then a natural thing, a natural way for others to find us. They're going to find us. If we are that light, it's really guiding them home so they can be the light. They're meant to be the light.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And a couple things. One, I have a gathering that I invite people to on Tuesdays called Share Your Light. And it's the idea of it is basically that when we allow our light to shine, and then that helps other people to in turn pass that light along as if it were from one candle to another, helping us to get to where we want to go. And as we each bring our light, share our light, that light gets brighter and brighter, right? And so it's how do we care for ourselves so that our light shines bright enough in order for other people to see and for them to either light their own candle or bring their candle and magnify the light that is there. But it requires us to not just be focused externally, but to also come from a place internally when we allow our inner light to emanate.
I love that you're doing that. I would like to attend your group.
Well, you're
want to go. And I love what you're saying, and I love what this is all about for you, because it becomes contagious. It becomes contagious, and it's not even so much what we say or what we do. It's the energy that we transmit. And we're doing that all the time. So if we have a lot of stuck emotions in us, like you said, when you were depressed, we're transmitting that, and you're never without light. You're never totally dark. Nobody's, I have done some chakra readings where I've seen a tremendous amount of darkness, tremendous amount, and I have done chakra readings where I have witnessed a tremendous amount of light. So whatever it is, we are always transmitting that 100% of the time. What happens then, whatever we're transmitting affects those around us. So as we move into more light, so like you said, you raised 4 kids. Joy was your 4th one. So you're transmitting more light than with the first one. You keep trying, you keep doing your best. And it's not just that you mentally see and feel the difference, but it's also energetic. And so we transmit more of that, and people feel that. When you bring a group of people together who are in tune with their own light or are transmitting this, and they're committed to themselves, it helps us all. It helps those in that group. It helps the people we work with. It helps people in relationships. When we do our own inner work, everybody in our family benefits.
Absolutely. Yes. And honestly, that's what inspires my work is to make the world a brighter place. And it's by sharing our light. It's not by dimming our light. It's by making our light as radiant as we can make it, as an act of service, as an act of expression of love and of our heart. The other thing that I was thinking is, I love language. I mean, I spend a lot of time reading poetry and studying other languages and reading books and writing and all that. And I love the power of language. But there's something beyond language that, it like you said, it's not what we say or what we do. It's who we are. It's how our light radiates. And the language can facilitate that, but it doesn't replace that. But first of all, we have to have that energy and to cultivate that energy so that then the words and the actions can be in alignment with that, so that we can create the difference we want to be creating in the world.
Absolutely. It's so important. So whatever you are writing, you are transmitting a certain energy. And I'm not a writer. Yes, I wrote 2 books. I remember being in high school and I loved writing. I remember high school English class, grade 10, and we had to write every day for 5 days. We had to write something, and then we chose one that we wanted to get marked on, and I did very well. But over time, I lost my inclination to write, and yet I was guided to write a book, my first book on the throat chakra. And I thought, how am I going to do that? I'm going to need a very, very good editor. And what I did, it's so I don't have the skills you have, nor I do like to read. I like poetry, and I absolutely like to read. But I thought, how am I going to do this? And who's going to want to read my book? I'm not a writer. But I gave up on that. I let all that go because I thought, this is God wanting to work through me. There is a
Mm,
message, and that's what matters the most.
mm.
Want to hear how I did it?
I do, and I also find it really interesting that we're talking about the throat chakra here. Which is the portal, if you will, or the gateway for what's inside to express itself, right? So I find it
Exactly.
fascinating that you are having all this kind of constriction, this about expressing yourself.
That's right. And I'm, part of the reason I wrote the book was so many of the people, pretty much everybody I was working with had throat chakra issues, and it's the hardest chakra to heal. But
Mm.
guess who had the worst throat chakra issues ever? Myself. And so I learned this is how we know what work we're meant to do in the world, is what have been our greatest challenges that we've had to work through that we can help others with. And so you're 100% correct. And so what I did, I actually did practice is every day I wrote the first book in 8 days, and I spent 4 hours a day. Well, between 3 and 4 hours at two different sittings. Each sitting was an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I had my outline, and I would walk to the creek where we live near, because it had, lots of sound. There were rocks and everything. And it was cold. It was in the winter, but I could bundle up and I would sit there and meditate. And, the water is so filled with love, and the light
Mm.
would sparkle. So I would let this light and love of the water flow through me. And I would,
Mm.
I would invite the universe to flow through me, to really let God flow through me in this book, that I could write from this place of trust. And so
Mm.
I worked with my chakras and everything. And then I'd go back home, and I would time myself, and I would give myself so much time, and I would have my tea, a couple mugs of tea in an insulated mug, and I would get going, and I would do this practice of trust. And I would just type away and write and write and write and write and write on that particular chapter. And I just kept breathing into this trust that I had, that the love and light of the universe was flowing through me, that God is flowing through me. And that's how I wrote the book. And there
Mm.
was one chapter I got triggered in. Some of my dark energy was coming up, and I just went from being triggered until I found myself in tears, and I could not finish the chapter. And so I stopped and did some personal work, looked at what that was, what the resistance was, what the fear was, all that stuff. And then I was able to redo that chapter. And so
Mm.
both of my books, I wrote from that perspective. Yes, the language, and I did have an editor for both of them, but it was getting that message out there, and it's the transmission. And so my hope is that the transmission, it's the message that flows through the book, not so much the perfect English, the perfect
Mm.
grammar, that sort of.
Yes. Yes. That's beautiful. And I love the way that you created a setting for yourself for that expression to come forward. And that's just beautiful. Well, Cheryl, I really enjoyed our conversation today, and all the love and the positive and negative, well, all the energy, let's just call it that, let's not label it, that we've talked about today. I think we really can be that lighthouse, that magnet that helps other people to get to where they want to be going. And as we share our hearts with others, that the world becomes a brighter place.
It becomes a brighter place, and there really is nothing to me more rewarding.
Mm. Yes.
It's just been such a joy to have this time with you, Steve. I am so grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And before we go, can you share with our audience how they might connect with you and learn more about what you do?
They can just go to my. Is it okay if I state my website?
Of course.
Star of Divine Light. It's starofdivinelight.com. And I think it's I'm just going to put it in the chat here, starofdivinelight.com. And it's kind of funny because I never ever wanted to have a spiritual school. Did not. I just wanted to be Cheryl Stelte, and that's it. And after I taught my Azarius online energy healing, one of my students said, I need a better name for this type of healing. So it became the Azarius energy healing. It was a longer name before that. She said, and I need to belong to a school or some sort of organization. And so that was the universe speaking through her to me. It's
Mm,
time to do this. Honestly, I meditated for less than 5 minutes to come up with the name for the school and the name for Azarius Energy Healing, which is another topic. And so it's really just a response to how God wants to move through me in bigger ways to help others.
that's beautiful. Thank you so much. And to our audience, may the light that has been shared today, may the heart that has been shared today warm your heart so that you can be the bright light in someone's